Hello everyone. So here in this occasion, we are going to present our article review. But before that, let us introduce our group. Our group consists of 7 students. The first is Angel Melinda. The second is Muhammad Fikri Zulfikar. The third is Rizky Ahmad Haidar. The fourth is Anissa Sujono. The fifth is Putri Reski Amalia. The sixth is me, Saista Kadir Rahma Fajriah. And the last is Mutiara Anugrah. So I will start the presentation first. So the article that we are going to review, the title is Joseph Skipsey, the peasant poet and an unpublished letter from W.B. Yeats. From the title of the article, we can conclude that this article, using several references, include the unpublished letter from W.B. Yeats. And then the green one here, from the literature and history, blah, 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 it is the detailed information of the article. And then here, the garden trait is the author's name. So we can conclude from this is the author is from the UK. And move to the abstract. So in this abstract, the function of abstract itself is to describe the entire conceptual content of an idea in writing. The abstract shows us that the unpublished letter from Yeats gave new insight towards the early career of Yeats and deeper understanding of the possibilities and capabilities of the Victorian working class. And then next to the keywords. So the function of the keywords itself is to help the reader to understand the outline that will be discussed in the article. It also helps the reader to find more references easier. And then the author give at least 5 keywords here. Okay, next is in the peasant poets blah blah blah. In this part, the writers give the comparison between the peasant poet in the Boston Pilot in 1998 between in England and in Ireland. And here, at the last part of this page is the corresponding author. The corresponding author give the information of the author's correspondence. Okay, next is at 135 page. So in the green part here, it is written that Skipsey did compose many blah blah blah. In this part, the author shows what Skipsey composed. And next is two poets working at opposite ends of their careers and blah blah blah. In the purple one, in this part, the author give the author write the comparison between the poets, that is Skipsey and Yeats. And here the pink one that written Martha Ficinius, the industrial blah blah blah, and then Gustav Kaus, the literature labor, and Thomas Blacker blah blah blah. Those three are the references or the citation. Okay, so I move to the blue part here from the sentence. It is clear the English peasant poet was more common than Yeats, supposed in the pilot and blah blah blah. In this part, the author saw the result of this rise in scholarship. Next is the green one from the sentence in incessant toil and hands and blah blah blah. In here, the author kayaknya salah deh Niki. Kok bener deh citation. And in incessant toil and hands innumerable and blah blah blah, the author also write the citations in here. Okay, next is the recovering laboring class writing project has had us blah blah blah. In this part, the authors tell us the impact of the recovering laboring class writing project. Okay, and the last part of this page is in this part, Skipsy's status as one of the few working men taken up by a literary circle and blah blah blah. And here, the writer wrote the Skipsy status and achievement in his art and poetry. Okay, that's all for me, and the next page will be delivered by my.
So on page 136, here written Skipsy was born on St. Patrick's Day, 1832, and within months of Joseph's birth, his father was shot dead. So in here, the writer tells about Skipsy biography. And the next one, in his early 20s, Skipsy began to commit his poems to paper, and his first self-published work in 1858. So here's the writer tells about Skipsy's first self-published work. And the next one, Skipsy's early volumes were well received and widely reviewed in regional presses across England and Scotland. Here, the author or the writer suggests that Skipsy's early volume brought him to national attention. As written in here, brought him significant national attention. So, and in here, the writing of book titles quoted in journal articles are correct. Next. On the green line highlight, it's written about Yeats' first reference to Joseph Skipsy. Apropos of poach, the peasant poet is less common in England than with us in Ireland, and blah blah blah. And the purple highlight is about a living voice to Yeats. So to Yeats, the living voice found in the poetry of Ireland's peasant culture and the life of the villages, with its songs, its dance, and its pious greetings, and blah blah blah. And the blue one is about the writer tells that Yeats find a common heritage when Skipsy is turning to Mangan. And the last part on this page, the writers write opinion about Yeats in co-opting an English writer. As written in here, in co-opting an English writer in this fashion, Yeats seemingly dilutes the Irishness of his conception of peasant poetry and blah blah blah. So here's all my part. The next part will be represented by my friend.
Okay. All right. So from this text, Yeats, writing of the late 1890, began to credit blah 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 is the citation from other sources. The next is, please scroll to below. Okay. Okay. So the author citates from other source. From the text is really does know how to write. I mean, Yeats considered he does so not so well as Mr. Skipsy, blah blah blah. Okay, so from the green highlighter, it's the word from noun from deficiency, and that is the plural form of deficiency. Deficiency, it means that not having enough. So it means that according to Mr. Yeats, Skipsy is lack of matter and reason to his poet. Okay, so from in the blue highlighter, to Yeats, Hosken has no permanence of spirit and no connection to the living voice, blah blah blah. It is Yeats' opinion about Hosken. Okay, next page, please. So in the, what it is, blue, yes, blue, oh, purple highlighter is the author's statement about how he unable to find the connection between them, the connection like the relationship between them. But in the green highlighter, he could find a letter to Mr. Skipsey from Mr. Yeats. He said that a letter I discovered in the Robert Benz Watson papers held at Newcastle University provides the foundation for further investigation. Okay, so this is the letter to Mr. Skipsey. It is like the usual letter, like it have address, date, salutations, body text, and then complimentary closing, and the last is signature. Okay, that's my part.
So in page 140, that's contain Yeats' opinion about Skipsey poetry and opinion from Yeats and Skipsey about how to make a poems. And this page also contains the categories of poem that Yeats will choose to appreciate. So to appreciate. Page, the author add another benefit of poem beside being a literary work from the Skipsey poetry. So my friends will continue.
Okay, so in this part, this is explain how Skipsey imagines the underground scene as father, sons, and brother. This is the example, and then we go to the next. The purple highlight is about there are some parts that mention if the audience incriminated by the tragedy, it means that the story already success make the audience feel on that. And then the green highlight is the title of Skipsey poems like A Golden Lot, and then Get Up and Bereaved. And then this one, the example of Skipsey poems.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the next page is about the example of Skipsey poems. And the green highlight here, this part tell about how the readers feel so real about these poems, how they really feel that poems is real. Like this, the sentence talk about this, the writer is also brought face to face. And then the purple highlight, the writer tell about how Blake really important as an influencer, because in here, Skipsey case, the influence is really obsessed here when one considers the opening to Blake's. And then we go to the highlight, the green highlight. This is the title of Blake's song and the year when the song came out. And then the blue highlight here, Joseph Skipsey tell about his poems and his background poems. Okay, so the next page will continue by my friend.
And the next one is the poetry quote reference that the writer used to describe life in the village. And the green highlight is example of Yeats' poetry during a time of love in a mining village. And the blue highlight tells us about the author tried to give another perspective of comparison. And the next is the pink highlight, is the example of 21st century perfect perspective. And the next one is the purple highlight, is a quote about the reason why Yeats wrote the letter. And the next one is Yeats' generous comment that he supposed everyone blah blah blah, is yet Yeats' comment that flatters Skipsey on his ability.
So the next page is my part. The purple highlight is Skipsey response to Yeats' poetry is not included in Yeats' autobiography. And then in the green highlight, yet an item in Yeats' library, such as and so on. This is the writing of Edward Osea, shows that there was communication between Yeats and Skipsey. And then the blue highlight, Skipsey was very careful to keep in touch with critics and so on. This is the author assumptions as to why Skipsey's letter went unpublished, but rather was probably a fan copy. And then much work needs to be done to explore the life and work and so on. This is the connection between the poetry of Skipsey and Yeats opened a new context at that time. And then in green highlight, developing a deeper understanding of the early career of Yeats and so on. This is the meaning of the contents of the letter from Yeats. And then the blue highlight, this letter reveals Skipsey to have been a writer whose work was appreciated and so on. This is a contents of Skipsey's letters. This is a contents of Skipsey letters whose career has taken off. And then the last page is about acknowledge. Is an expression of the author's gratitude to anyone who has helped to finish the writing of the article. And then declaration conflicting interests. The author emphasized that there is no potential conflict in the whole article. And then funding. In funding, the author tells that this research article using personal funds. And then the last notes, this citation that the author used by following the style of writing Selingkuh. That's all.
Okay, that's all from us. Thank you for your attention. See you.